Today we're gonna make gluten-free crunchy granola that is packed with flavor and nutrients. And we're also gonna go on a little foraging mission to see what treasures we can find in the forest together. So to get started, you wanna preheat your oven to 325. You want to line a baking sheet with parchment paper, and I'm gonna gather all of the ingredients together and then I'll introduce them to you as we go. All right, let's do it. All right, we have everything together, which at first glance might look like a lot, but we'll go through it and it's not that bad, trust me. So the first thing you're gonna want is a big old bowl that we're gonna mix everything into, and then we'll put it on our parchment lined baking sheet. But the first thing we're gonna start with is 2 cups of gluten-free oats. You obviously don't have to use gluten-free if you're not sensitive to gluten, but it's an option. So do if you need to. We're gonna add that to our bowl. I here have 1 cup of coconut ribbons, 1 cup of raw sunflower seeds, and 1 cup of raw pumpkin seeds. I love the addition of all the different seeds, basically that I can use so that we bring in way more nutrient diversity. And it just helps keep us fuller, longer. Fuller? Is that a word? It is now. Then I also have 1/2 cup of hemp hearts and 1/2 cup of sesame seeds. I love hemp hearts. They bring in a little bit more protein, which is always a great thing when you're starting your day. And I have 1/4 cup of coconut sugar. Just adding it all in. I have a solid teaspoon of cinnamon, like a heaping teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm gonna pop that in. Then I'm gonna stir this up. We're gonna set this aside while I chop up some nuts. So it's about 2 cups of whatever nuts you like. I here have walnuts, almonds, and cashews, but you can use whatever you want. I'm using 2 cups. I like to do equal ratio of oats to nuts just for more nutrients and more diversity. And I like the texture of it. There's a little bit more crunch factor when you use, obviously, crunchy nuts. So I'm just gonna roughly chop these up. All right, it's a rough job. It doesn't matter. I like when some of them are smaller and some of them are bigger. Some of them will get a little bit more crunchy. I love the diversity of it. And also, this has turned out to be clearly way more than 2 cups. And I'm cool with that because I love a solid, big batch of granola. I would say it's probably easily 3 cups. I don't know what happened there, but we're just gonna add it into our bowl. Making a bit of a mess as we do it. Hidden ones. Okay. So I'm gonna stir this up, and then we're gonna add 1/4 cup of, I'm using avocado oil. You could use melted butter, melted coconut oil. Ghee would be a great option. You could also use extra virgin olive oil. It might bring a little bit of a flavor, but you might not notice, so whatever. So we're gonna add the oil. I'm also using a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. What I like about making granola at home is you can really control how much sweetness you're adding, which most store-bought granola is very sugar heavy, unless you're really checking the ingredients. So I hope that this recipe shows you how quick and easy it is to make, how you can make a huge batch of it, and control that sugar content. We're just gonna stir this up. I like crunchy granola. Okay, so I'm gonna set this aside for a minute. I'm gonna be quick with this because I don't want it to get soggy. But here is the last secret trick to making it crunchy. Most places are gonna be using a lot of oil or a lot of sweetener to bring that crunch factor, but we're gonna use an egg. And I know, that seems weird. You just gotta trust me, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna whisk it up, and it's gonna take a minute because I want it to get kind of frothy. This is when you would use your handheld egg beater thing. I broke mine making mashed potatoes, so let that be a lesson to y'all. Okay, it's like good enough, frothy enough. You could use egg whites if you wanted, but I'm just using the whole thing, just going for it. So I'm just gonna dump this in. And we're gonna quickly stir it up. I'm gonna grab my baking sheet. And here's the other thing that changed how my granola worked out. I used to load it up and then I would stir it maybe every 5 to 10 minutes before, trying to get that kind of even thing happening. Well, I don't do that anymore. Now I'll show you what I do. We're gonna spread it all out, almost like we're making a gigantic granola bar. I'm really taking this baking sheet to the limit. That's okay. I'm living on the edge. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop this in the oven for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna pull it out. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a check out. Maybe it needs to be rotated around a little bit. Maybe I need to change the angle in the oven. Maybe it needs a gentle stir up. And then we'll put it back in for about 20 more minutes. And then we'll go from there. All right, let's get this in the oven. So we will give those 20 minutes, we'll give that 20 minutes to do its thing, and then we'll check it and see if it needs a little bit of a shuffle about and go from there. All right, the timer has gone off. It smells amazing in here. I wish you could smell it, but let's have a look at it. So I wanted to make sure that one side wasn't burning or looking more cooked than the other side, but it looks really good. I think I will just rotate it, pop it back in for another 20 minutes, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it. I'm gonna really be paying attention to the smell. I don't wanna burn it, which I have done. And this is a lot of amazing ingredients to burn. So I would say I'm gonna put the timer on for 20 minutes, but I'm gonna be paying attention after 10 minutes, maybe having a little peek. All right, back in it goes. It's been 15 minutes. It's time for it to come out. I can smell it. Oh. All right, so we're gonna leave this to cool completely. And then once it's cooled, like I would say at least 30 minutes, we're gonna crunchel it up, and that's what's gonna create, letting it cool in this flat situation without having stirred it at all, is what's gonna create those like crunchy clusters. And then we're gonna put it in a jar. I'm probably gonna eat some because it's like my favorite. And that's what we're gonna do. So let's let this cool for a little bit, and while it cools, let's go for a walk in the forest and see if we can find some ripe huckleberries. Living in the mountains, I am completely blown away by the huckleberries that grow up here on the coast where I grew up. They were these giant bushes with teeny tiny little berries, but here in the mountains, they're incredible. So join me for a journey in the woods. So we found some treasures in the woods, and I want to show you quickly how I clean these up a little bit. I'm not super worried about, obviously, much, but we want to clean out any leaves or random flowery bits, because what are those even? So I like to just add them to a bowl of water, and then what happens is all the weird stuff, not that it's weird, but all the things that we don't maybe want to eat for breakfast just kind of float up to the top, and we can just scoop them out, drop them on the floor like I just did, and then we'll just strain these off. They're like gems. Okay, this looks good enough for me. I think we got, oh, that's just part of the huckleberry. I think we got it. So I'm just gonna strain them out, and then we're gonna build a bowl for breakfast. So let's check out to see if this granola has turned out how I want it to, which is to be a little bit crunchy. Look at it. So you can see, I don't know if you can see, but hopefully you can see that it is really crunchy. It's got clusters. Depends on how much you break it up, of course. You could leave the clusters bigger. I'm just gonna break this up a bunch and then we're gonna spoon some out with our huckleberries and some yogurt from the neighbor town, and it's gonna be the best. Whoops. There's some like chewy parts in here and some crunchy parts. This is gonna be amazing. What I love about it is there's so little added sugar and very little added oil, and yet it still has all this crunchy amazingness, which is what I'm looking for in granola. So at this point, you could, if you wanted to, add dried fruit. I don't like to because I like to be able to add whatever I want to the serving that I'm having. But by all means, if you love it always with raisins or dried cranberries, add them in now. I have heard a lot of people love to add freeze-dried fruit to their granola, which I kind of love that idea. I don't have any, so I'm not gonna do it today. And we're gonna have ours with huckleberries. So I'm gonna just do a serve. I'm gonna serve us out a dish and then I'm gonna enjoy it while you watch me enjoy it. The next part of it is to package it up, and I really love to use these big Jumbotron mason jars. Whatever container you have that you can really seal the top of to keep it fresh is gonna be clutch. And this is the hardest part of the whole entire process, is getting this into this. So be ready for that. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands and make some breakfast. So I have about a cup of Greek yogurt. You can use so many different options here. You can use your favorite milk. You can use some dairy-free yogurt, whatever gets you going. I like Greek yogurt that's unsweetened because then I know I'm getting that extra added protein. And if you want to add more protein, you could mix in some protein powder into your liquid if you want it. But I find that with all the nuts and seeds in here, it works out. So I'm just gonna add, like, I don't know how much, this much granola. And then I'm gonna add a good amount of huckleberries, because this is where the magic is. And I also have some of these BC grown blackberries, which blackberries just remind me of summer. They're so amazing. When they ripen, they smell like my childhood to me. So I'm gonna add a couple of those. They're so huge that, I mean, I could add tons, but I won't because I can restrain myself. And you guys, that is it. That's breakfast with incredible crunchy granola. You're gonna love it. It takes a little bit of time, but it's a huge batch. It makes an amazing gift for friends or family, anyone that's, you know, trying to have a healthy breakfast option. I hope that you give it a try. And for now, I am gonna dig into this delight. It's just like the perfect combination of crunchy, but it still has those chewy parts. It's so good. And the huckleberries are just amazing. All right, you guys ready for this? This is always a messy part, but let's do it together. I need to calm down. It's my hope that someone is gonna have like a way better strat for this in the comments. Just saying. I'm open. I love suggestions. Dropped a little bit, and I have extra that I can bring to my neighbor who just had a baby. The most important thing is that you wait for this to be completely cool before you seal it, before you put a lid on it. Otherwise, it will get it'll kind of just get mushy. And that's not what we want with our granola. That's not what I want. So just make sure that it is completely cool before you package it up, before you put a lid on it. Otherwise, it's gonna hang out for, I don't know, a couple weeks, but best of luck not eating it all immediately. Thanks so much for joining me. Getting crazy. That's it. A jar for my family, a jar for a friend.